Hello, friends. Welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns.
That was weird.
Today, that was weird.
That was weird. Hello, friends.
We're just being different.
All right, good.
I'm a different personality right now because I have glasses on. That's
That's
funny.
true. Changes everything.
Anyway, today we read Esther chapter 1. And every now and then, I like to read the chapters out loud. My whole family's auditory, and I'm all the things. I need all the things to comprehend, and I do best to read it out loud. But let me just say, there's a lot of names in this first chapter of the area of King Ahasuerus.
Now, there's a lot of names he's called in this book.
Xerxes,
Ahasuerus.
The name you're not going to hear as we read through this whole book is God. And so that's going to be really interesting, but the coolest part is you're going to see him all over it. He's going to be woven throughout the lives of the people. He's going to be in the moments and the events. And chapter 1 jumps right into the thick of it, and things get amped up pretty quickly.
Okay, let's review this too, because you hit on a good point. So there's a lot of names. So like it is the king's, all of his officials and all. There was a lot of names. Do you remember what our rule is about when we find names in the Bible?
Let your eyes fall on every word.
That's right. And then the second piece of that.
What I do, I just make it up and say it with confidence.
That's right. Make it up, say it with confidence, because no two people are saying them alike. And look, all these people are dead, so they're not going to be mad at you. Just call them what you need to call them. Okay? Now, it helps me because I love the book of Esther. It helps me though to place this within the context of like the overall story of the Bible, because it helps me to understand. So the Israelites have gone into captivity. They're in exile. Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they went to Babylonian exile. The Babylonians were conquered by a combined empire of the Medes and the Persians. That's this guy.
I'm in history.
Yeah, you are. You're a historian. How about that? And so this is the guy who's ruling that. So this chapter actually fits between another two chapters in the Bible. If you flipped over to the book of Ezra chapter 6 and Ezra chapter 7, all of what happens here goes between those two chapters. So there's a little time jump that happens here. Also, you got to remember that the Persian king Cyrus has already said that the Jews could go back to Jerusalem.
Right.
But Cyrus's grandson, kind of third generation, is this guy, Ahasuerus' son. Okay? So Cyrus, this guy, and then Artaxerxes the first, that's his name. He's the one who sends Nehemiah back. So you got them fitting in here.
Ahasuerus is Xerxes, and his son is
Artaxerxes, son of Xerxes. Yeah. So that's kind of the flow of this. Now, here's what you need to remember. You need to remember that when you're reading through this, you're having to like swim through the culture to get to the content. And you got to remember, so the king is throwing, and the Bible says, like 180 days worth of parties. Okay. So here's what you need to know. There's very few of these people who were there for 6 months having a party. That's not what's happening. So the ancient historians, I think it was Herodotus. He was a Greek historian. Herodotus describes this party. And he describes, like, this book is notorious for big parties. Okay, there's parties like in every chapter. Either parties or like wailing and moaning. So it's highs and lows through the whole thing. Herodotus says that what was happening here was the king was throwing this party because he's inviting in shifts leaders from all over his empire to come together. The king's party, but he's a politician. He's bringing these guys in because underneath it all, he's ambitious. He wants to go and start a war with the Greeks. The Greeks are going to beat him up. But he's mad about that. He wants to start a war with the Greeks, but he needs all of his officials to buy into the plan. And so, according to Herodotus, the king's words were these. So Ahasuerus says, "My intent is to throw a bridge and march an army through Europe against Greece, that I may obtain vengeance from the Athenians," because they had already lost to Athens, "for the wrongs committed to them against the Persians against my father. He wanted one worldwide empire under his control. And so he's trying to politic and get everybody on board for war. Hey, they're not on board for war. They don't want war. Some of them don't. They eventually go and it gets them in trouble. But then you get into this deal. You okay? You get into this deal about the queen. So the queen is called, her name is Vashti. She's called to come like parade herself in front of the guys. Jen had tell them your initial takeaway of his character.
I said he's an insecure man, this is a story full of debauchery, and I said, you don't want me to recap this?
Yeah, she doesn't like him, and he's not a great dude at all. But what you're gonna find though is, so he calls in the queen. This, and by the way, all of chapter 1 is telling you how a Jewish girl, Jewish peasant, becomes queen. By the way, look at Vashti, look at Esther, look at Mordecai later. It shows how God can use anybody from any level of society to affect great change.
And they're not living perfectly holy lives. You
Yeah,
know
I
what
mean, nobody knows they're Jews at first.
Real good old sinner people.
That's right. Now, here's what you got to know. So there was a law in the kingdom that evidently the queen was really pretty, and he felt like he had somebody to show off, and so he's got all his officials there, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to see the crown jewel of my collection," because he showed them all the riches. Right? He's at a party, lavish riches. He said, "Let me show you the crown jewel." Okay, so he calls for his queen to come in, and she must have been a looker because he was happy to show her off. But there was a law in Persia that prohibited the face of royal women to be looked upon by just any member of society. It was they covered them. Don't look, you're not worthy to see them. So she's going, dude, this is against the law. And like this would have been tremendously demeaning for her as a royal lady. But here's the other side. History tells us that the king, Ahasuerus' son, so the king, his title is Xerxes, that's like emperor, whatever. His son, Artaxerxes, is born this same year. Vashti's son. Okay?
I've never heard
Yeah,
this.
so watch this. One of the reasons she doesn't want to come in there, she's highly pregnant at this point. So it's illegal to look at her. She's being demeaned like she is just like a common woman. She says she's ticked, right? But she's also very, very pregnant. And he says, just look at her. Like she's an object. Mm-hmm. And hey, now you're getting echoes when you hear this of a woman who stands up to a king. And that's where the story kicks off. Hey, remember we just read Exodus? What was Exodus 1 and 2 about? Okay? In Exodus chapter 1, there's a king who commands 2 women to kill all the Jewish boys. And that's right. And what do? They stood up and they said, we're not going to do it. And they are highly honored. And here's what you're finding. These biblical kings from all of these pagan nations, they're not kings. They're pretend kings. They are not gods. They are pretend gods. And they are not as powerful as they think they are. But they are about to meet a real God.
Ooh,
that's how
the real king.
Boom, boom, boom. Okay. That's how the story starts. We'll see you next time in Esther chapter 2. Bye.
Bye.